Can this be the replacement to my Olympus top TG camera? Let's find out. Welcome back, it's Jimmy Cheng here from RED35. I hope today's video is interesting and useful, especially if you're an active photographer and or a family man like myself. Thanks to my mum and dad's healthy genes, I don't actually look my age. But I'm a dad with a pair of 9-year-old twins, and they have come to that age that they start asking for lots of expensive stuff. And I wish they would take an interest in photography, because I do have a few spares lying around. But sadly, no. Maybe one day though. Anyway, one of those expensive stuff is a phone. Well, smartphone to be specific. One that has to go onto the internet, TikToking, Instagramming, YouTubing, and of course, playing Roblox, any games, you name it. So there are a few boxes to tick. But as a photographer myself, I would like to see a few things too. Because there are not many true low-cost smartphones out there, and even rarer to find one that is tough. And you know how kids can destroy stuff these days. Anyway, I was in search of something that can withstand some kind of bashing and at the same time, wallet friendly. That basically brought me to today's star, the DooGee S98, a Chinese brand that makes low-cost rugged smartphones. Well, I really want to see this if you can justify or satisfy everything that I need for my growing kids and maybe some other outdoor active photographers who need something tough that can take some good quality snaps and short clips that my current TG5 can do. First, let's get the cost out of the way. The S98 is pretty cheap by today's smartphone standards. It is for sale for less than £300 in the UK. And I have a link in the description should you want to check it out. But seriously, this is quite amazing considering what you get for £300. And also, unlike other major brands that keep skimping accessories like chargers and stuff, you also get a proper 20-watt charger, cables, and a screen protector, which they kindly renamed it as anti-explosion film. Oh yeah, so that means that it can protect you from explosion too. And also, interestingly, the price of the S98 is also very close to what you can get on the Olympus TG6 too. Just that one is a rugged smartphone and the other one is a rugged point-and-shoot camera. Did I mention the S98 is a rugged phone? Well, then you know what I'm about to say. This phone is solid, built like a tank. It also has quite a heft to it too, at 320 grams, which is almost 100 grams heavier than the already heavy iPhone 13 Pro Max, and of course the Olympus TG6 tough camera. And most of the fat was from the construction of the shock absorption design. Even with a 6.3-inch Full HD display, the S98 is still bigger than the 6.7-inch 13 Pro Max in every dimension. And even upon close inspection, it is built as good as any premium phone on the market. And you won't be laughed at even if you show off the S98 in front of your banker friends. Right, as a photographer, I am curious about this because I do use my iPhone a lot for quick snaps of family gatherings and kids when we're out and about. As you know, the iPhone is amongst the best in the smartphone category. So I know this isn't fair, but I would like to see just how a £300 smartphone camera compares to a premium device on the market. And of course, to my dedicated TG5. First off is cameras. plurals. Yep, the S98 has 3 rear cameras and 1 front-facing camera, all of which is from different brands and have different specs, which sounds to me like one of those kit cars that you build. A car that features a Ford engine with a Toyota gearbox, a Vauxhall steering wheel, and a Honda signal stalks. But anyway, the rear consists of a 64 megapixel AI camera which supports PDAF, a 1.8 aperture with a 90-degree field of view, and that actually sounds pretty promising. But whatever that means, we will come to image quality later. Then it also has an 8 megapixel wide camera with a 2.2 aperture and 130-degree field of view. This one does have a Samsung S5K 4H7 sensor. I don't know where that comes or what it is. But anyway, then the killer sensor. Yes, this is the killer one. Apparently, is the 20 megapixel night vision camera from Sony, together with an inbuilt infrared light that has a 1.8 aperture and a 80-degree field of view. Yes, because the S98 does support night vision tech, if you want to creep out your kids at home or in a jungle. And finally, the front-facing camera features another Samsung sensor that has 60 megapixel with a f2 aperture and a 80-degree field of view. So even though the camera spec is all over the place, at least on paper, they all sound pretty decent, right? Well, let's find out. To start off, in good light, all the cameras seems to perform fine, except in high contrast situations. This is a common problem with every, yes, let me repeat, every smartphone on the market, including the ultra expensive ones. This is physics once again, and the tiny sensor in smartphones just aren't going to do the trick when it comes to dynamic range. So instead of trying to use your force and hope for the best, many high-end phones use some clever AI processing to make a HDR photo by combining multiple exposures into one. The results can be pretty convincing and okay in certain situations, but sometimes, even with the latest generation of smartphones, still feels and look a bit odd in some cases. So this is where the S98 falls short. While there's a HDR mode, which by the way, you have to enable it physically. But even with it on, you're not going to compete with the high-end option. And having said that, you can still get some amazing shots with these cameras, just have to watch out for those high contrast differences. So, the standout feature of the main camera is of course the ultra high resolution number on the main camera. 64 megapixel is quite a bit on paper, but once again, you will get the details from that sort of resolution, but again, you will have to watch out for those high contrast areas, otherwise you're going to have your highlights blown and shadow crushed. So to me, the ultra high megapixel, on any smartphone is nothing but a marketing stunt, because you can't really compete with the dedicated cameras because you won't get the same pixel quality regardless of resolutions. In line with most Android smartphones, there are some interesting beauty options that you can select, so you can make yourself look slimmer, whiter, with bigger eyes and smoother skin. Perfect for me, who's been aged by my 2 monkeys at home. So overall, the S98 produces acceptable results in most cases, but in most challenging conditions. And while it can't compete with the high-end rivals, it still produces results that are better than most budget point-and-shoot cameras on the market. So I said most because the pure pixel quality is behind my trusty TG5 by quite a margin. Okay, this is where the S98 seriously lacking behind competitions. The highest resolution you can select in video is 2K at 30p, but the lack of any sort of stabilization makes it really hard to get decent and stable footage. The video quality also isn't the best here, and again, the camera suffers badly in high contrast scenes. The quality further degrades when you select slow motion. The footage is over-sharpened to compensate the softness that generally associate with high frame rate videos. But coupled with the lack of dynamic range, the result is more like adding an entire bottle of salt to an overcooked beef steak. And you certainly don't want to look at it, let alone eating it. So, the slow motion is best reserved for, well, I don't know. You have to make up your own mind. And the 1080 normal video is just okay. And in terms of overall quality, you are basically looking at 4 generations behind high-end phones. And the main reason being not just about resolution, but the deployment of cleverer processing and AI. My older TG5 has better pixel quality, resulting more vibrant and natural video footage. It also shoots 4K at 30p, and the slow motion option, while not being anything to showcase, at least is usable and much better looking than the S98. So, DooGee, don't really beat yourself up. And remember, you are charging a quarter of the price of any high-end smartphones today, which is still quite a feast. Okay, I'm being a little harsh here, and I know, because I have been using the latest iPhone every year, so I'm used to the high-end result. But I want to highlight the fact that you do get what you pay for in the end, especially when it comes to text and cameras. However, as a phone, DooGee is a very decent proposition, with all the latest connectivities available. A decent CPU, good enough for most but the heaviest tasks, very generous storage, and the ability to expand via micro SD card. Dual SIM support, a monstrous 6600 mAh battery, Touch and Face ID, together with one of the most rugged smartphone shell I've ever come across, despite the weight. Feels even more solid than my iPhone 13 Pro Max, and many more. And all this stuff comes at a grand total of just under £300 in the UK. Brand new. Oh yes, I almost forgot about the screen. It's also okay with a peak brightness of 480 nit, which is fine enough in most cases but the sunniest days. A couple of things that I would say is, when it compared to the high-end stuff again, the refresh rate seems to be a little bit slow, and the contrast level just can't compete with OLED or Apple's Liquid Retina LCD display. But again, less than £300 new. Come on, this is cheap. After all, what's my verdict on DooGee's new S98 rugged phone? Should you avoid it, consider it, shortlist it, or just go ahead and buy it? This is tough. As tough as my TG5. Why? Because it depends on what you are getting the S98 for. Go ahead and buy it if you want a cheap, indestructible phone for your teenage children, and get it if you're an active guy who just needs a phone that can sustain constant abuse. And get it if you want just a cheap working smartphone. And consider it if you want a second phone or a spare for your rugged outdoor commission or project. And avoid it if you're making a living from a smartphone, like content creator or vlogger who uses smartphone to generate content. And avoid it if you think the S98 can replace Olympus Tough TG camera. So I can't, and I just can't say it for sure, and I'll let you decide in this case. However, I must say I haven't seen a new phone for this cheap for many years, with everything selling at least double the price these days. So tell me, DooGee, how do you do that? So anyway, I would definitely get one for my kids, as I just like the rugged nature of this, and it does pretty much everything I need for a smartphone for kids especially. It does have a okay camera, for kids at least, not going to be pro quality. But again, for £300, you really can't ask for more. Anyway, this is the end of the video, and thank you for watching, and I hope it's useful and maybe a little bit entertaining for you guys as well. So thumb if you like this video, and sub if you want to stay in touch with all things photography, filmmaking, and of course some quirky text like this sometimes. Anyway, remember to subscribe. Thank you very much, and see you soon. Peace.